Explosions, both natural and artificial, have literally shaped our world. When talking about the largest explosions, there must be a few limitations. Most notably, the explosions on this list will be limited to Earth-bound explosions. Technically, the Big Bang is the largest explosion of all time, followed by a host of other solar events. But these are not really what people are looking for when they think about the largest explosions. As a point of comparison, Russia has claimed that its father of all bombs detonated in 2007, having a blast yield of 50 tons of TNT. If true, it will be the most powerful non-nuclear bomb ever built. This detonation doesn't even come close to making this list. These are the 10 largest explosions of all time. Number 10, the Halifax explosion. Let's turn to the 1917 Halifax explosion. During this year, a ship containing explosives intended for the front lines of the First World War collided with another ship, lost power and drifted into the Halifax harbor and exploded. It killed almost 2,000 people and destroyed most of the city. That blast has an estimated yield of 2.9 kilotons of TNT, more than 50 times the power of the father of all bombs. The blast was the largest man-made explosion prior to the development of nuclear weapons. Nearly all structures within an 800-meter radius were obliterated. The compression wave from the blast knocked trees, twisted iron nails, and shattered windows. This event goes to show that conventional explosives can be quite deadly. Number 9, the Minor Scale and Misty Picture, which were a non-nuclear test performed in the 1980s. These tests were meant to simulate nuclear blasts with conventional explosives. The purpose of these tests was to determine the performance and survivability of weapon systems and vehicles in a simulated nuclear detonation. Both of these detonations used ammonium nitrate explosive, equals to 4 kilotons of TNT. Number 8, Hiroshima. With the devastation caused by the dropping of Little Boy on Hiroshima, it might be surprising to know its blast yield was only 15 kilotons, a mere 5 times the power of the Halifax explosion. Hiroshima is seared into our consciousness because of the loss of life. While future nuclear devices were far more powerful, only the bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki targeted populated areas. Almost everything within a 1-mile radius was completely destroyed, and a fireball burned in over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. More than 100,000 people were killed in Hiroshima, not counting those who died from injuries in the following week. Number 7, the Tunguska event. In 1908, an explosion broke out in the isolated hinterlands of Russia. Its explosive yield is estimated to have been somewhere around 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, making it 1,000 times more powerful than the bombing of Hiroshima during the Second World War. It's generally accepted that a meteor, perhaps 150 to 300 feet in diameter, exploded in midair, flattening 770 square miles of forest but leaving no crater as the meteor completely disintegrated several miles above the Earth's surface. 40 miles away, people were thrown to the ground, and felt as if their clothing was on fire. But due to the remote nature of this event, no loss of life was recorded. Number 6, the Tsar Bomba. The world's largest nuclear event came in the form of the Tsar Bomba, which boasted an explosive yield comparable of 50 megatons of TNT. Theoretically, the bomb could yield 100 megatons, but this was never tested on account of radiation dangers, and the inability of pilots delivering the explosive to escape the weapon's blast sound. When the Tsar Bomba was tested, a 35-mile-high mushroom cloud could be seen 100 miles away. Buildings many more hundreds of miles away were damaged and destroyed by the blast. Its test on the 30th of October 1961 remains the most powerful human-made explosion in history. Number 5, Krakatoa. There's some debate as to what the biggest volcanic eruptions in recorded history are, as most occurred before the advent of modern measuring equipment. However, the next 4 are certainly among the largest. Erupting in 1883, the Krakatoa eruption is the largest eruption in recent times. With an estimated yield of 150 to 200 megatons, its eruption triggered 100-foot tower tsunamis. The sound of explosions could be heard 3,000 miles away and shock waves could be measured for days, even on 19th-century seismic recording technology. World temperatures measurably dropped and weather patterns were disrupted for years. Number 4. Lake Taupo. Lake Taupo, New Zealand, sits in the caldera of an extremely powerful volcano, which has repeatedly erupted over the last 27,000 years. Its most recent eruption, probably occurring in the year 186 CE and yielding about 200 megatons, is one of the most powerful eruptions in recorded history, yet not nearly as powerful as its previous blasts. This most recent eruption threw so much ash into the air that observers from the century in both Rome and China recorded that the sky had turned a dark red. Number 3. The Thera eruption. The modern island of Santorini in the Aegean Sea is what's left of Thera, a volcano which exploded with a force of 600 megatons of TNT. The event happened roughly between 1600 and 1500 BC, and may have contributed to the fall of Minoan civilization on Crete. The eruption created large tsunamis, which devastated coastal settlements and the ships on which Minoans depended as major siege freighters. It's not entirely clear what happened to Minoan civilization after this eruption, but it is clear that their way of life did not survive the eruption. Number 2. Mount Tambora. At its height, Mount Tambora in Indonesia stood over 14,000 feet tall. After its eruption in 1815, it stood just under 9,000 feet. The 800 megaton blast is unarguably the biggest eruption in all of recorded history. More than 10,000 people were killed in the eruption, with another 60,000 starving to death, as the ejected destroyed the local farming. Crops and livestock died to a lesser extent all over the world, resulting in widespread famine. The blast could be heard 1,000 miles away and ashfall reached at least half that distance. It blackened the sky for 2 days for hundreds of miles. The eruption column reached 27 miles into the sky and it rained ash for several days. Number 1. The KT extinction event. No explosion comes anywhere close to the KT extinction event, which killed 3/4 of all species on Earth, including dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Estimates put its yield at 100 teratons, billions of times stronger than the blast of Hiroshima. An asteroid anywhere from 3 to 10 miles in diameter struck the Gulf of Mexico, creating an undersea impact crater over 100 miles wide. The generated heat touched off worldwide firestorms. The resulting dust cloud blocked out the sun for months or even years, killing plants and the creatures dependent on them. Sulfuric acid was released into the atmosphere, producing acid rain, which might have been as strong as battery acid. Even occurring so far in the past, this event was so devastating that the evidence of its occurrence millions of years ago is irrefutable. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.